What makes the creator of any spirituality special? How did they create it? How did they get divine word to be written down or divine thoughts to be shared with others? What makes them so much different than you, and why can't you come to the same conclusions they did by experiencing life? So many people argue with different spiritualities, or even the same spirituality and how it should be practiced or believed in. And this applies to both big mainstream religions and spiritualities that have been practiced for thousands of years, and it applies to some of the ones that are newer. You know, it's only been around for 50 to 100 years, or even stuff that's being invented today. At the source of any spirituality is wisdom, is the idea of looking inward and being contemplative and thankful for being alive. At least that's the way I've observed it. Could be wrong. But when you look at these different paths, people get so caught up and hung up on names. They forget about the whole reason they're doing this spiritual path. And that's to really embrace and enjoy life and to connect with whatever divinity is. Now, I like to use the word divinity and divine, but different spirituality will say different stuff. Some people believe it as just this vast energy that they can't explain, some sort of great spirit, some sort of interconnected force, as you will, like you would hear in the fictional Star Wars. Some people think of God. Some people think of gods and goddesses. Everyone has their own view and visualization of what this divinity is. But one thing seems to be constant. Nobody knows for sure. People will say they do. That's part of belief. That's part of believing and having blind faith in any sort of spirituality or path or religion. But how do you actually know? If you take Christianity or any of the monotheistic faiths, okay, well, what is God? You might get a different opinion based upon who you speak to, but if God is all-powerful and omniscient and all-present, who are you to dictate how God can appear to others? So how is God not powerful enough to appear differently to different religions and cultures? What if everyone's believing in the same thing? If you're polytheistic and you believe in multiple gods and goddesses, some of you may look at these beings as actual individual beings. Others look at them as a collective of this great divinity that's interconnected, and they're aspects of it. So on the side of being aspects, who's to say God is not that collective aspect? On the side of individual beings, who are to say a concept similar to Christians thinking of angels or beings underneath it? Where did those beings that are the gods and goddesses come from? If you look at just a couple, like if you look at some of the reconstruction stuff of modern-day Druidry or Druidism, and if you look to the Tuatha De Danann, well, they traveled and they came over to Ireland and Gaul and different places. So if they came from somewhere, where did they come from? Because that's one thing that kind of stands out to me in some of the Celtic language-speaking tribes, the revival, reconstruction, New Age stuff today. There's not a creation story. If you take some of the North Scandinavian stuff that is being reconstructed today, they do have a creation story. But again, they all came out from somewhere. You can't even say, Odin, the All-Father, created everyone, because there's a very distinct different branches of different families that are interconnected, including Odin having a mother and a father, Bor and Besla. So even when you look at individual beings, there can still be this interconnection. Why can't you look at the original source for when, Gununga Gap was filled and created the cow that came out and licked out Ymir? What created all of that? Why can't we look beyond that? We can find a semblance of harmony and peace with people of different faiths and practices when you get out of arguing over the details. It really feels to me like people are staring at the dirt and someone's arguing saying, look, there's grass here. And grass is what we need because that's what the cows eat. We eat the cows, unless you're vegetarian or something. And that's all there is. But then you have someone else over here looking at a tree and they're looking at the bark like, no, there's no grass. Grass doesn't exist. It's not real. There's only wood. I see wood right here. I can feel it. It's hard. And this is exactly what wood's made for. It's made for creating furniture and using for fires or making weapons out of. No. What are you talking about, grass? This is nonsense. while someone may be over on a sandy beach or out in a winter storm and there's snow everywhere. The point is, perspective really colors our understanding or attempt at understanding. And if you try to give some understanding to your fellow human beings who might be interpreting what they see differently, you might realize that your eyes and your experience is not seeing the whole of the earth, let alone the galaxy and the universe. I really truly believe we have no ability to fully comprehend whatever divinity is. And we're all just lost and doing our best to tap into it. And we're tapping into this through our own intuition. We are tapping into this through that little sense inside of us that knows right from wrong, or conscience. We're looking inside and we're trying to let that guide us. And we listen to others. We listen for wisdom. We listen for words of others to open our mind. But it's up to us to interpret and to accept that. So when we get caught up in all these details, we're listening to somebody else's story about this journey. So that's just food for thought for the day. Really think about it. If you're arguing or fighting, not being friends with someone, or getting animosity towards someone or bad feelings towards them just because they don't see things your way, I feel like you're hurting yourself because you're the one going through those feelings of animosity towards them. You have to experience that. Don't let them inside like that. Not to mention the fact that what you are getting hung up on is the details on perspective. Anyway, just few words to think about. So hopefully you enjoy it. Contemplate it. Do what you will. It's your life. But best of luck in your journey.